You have to be consistent, and you can't rely 100% on your memory to do it, because there's no way you're going to remember, especially if you're a pond guy or if you're a heavy service company, you're going to remember to do all of this for hundreds of people. And that's where bringing systems into your company, bringing the right tools into your company to help you remember to do these things. Welcome to the follow through. Every episode, we dive into the challenges, opportunities, and strategies that help business owners save time, reduce stress, and grow. Let's jump in. So today is we are wrapping up the 333 framework that we started talking about on Monday. And I'm just going to quickly recap the first two, and then we'll talk about the 3-month follow-up. Today, we wrap up the 333. We bring it somewhat to a close. And on Monday, we talked about the first three. If you weren't able to join us Monday and Wednesday, I'm going to briefly go over what we talked about. So on Monday, it was the first communication after a job was done, that 3-day follow-up. It's just that quick touch to make sure everything went okay, make sure everything's going okay, nothing more than that. And I also always added like one more step in there. And this is not a framework that you have to stick to, but it's a guide, right? So it's a guide you can work off of and work it into whatever service you're providing at that particular time. So I typically, in the pond industry, did it a lot during pond cleanout season. I did it throughout with major services, but the pond cleanout season was, I would say, the main one. And that one we would call the day after. And then they would also get a 3-day touch just via email saying, hey, we just want to make sure everything's going okay, make sure everything's running smoothly. If you have any questions, let us know. And then the next one was that 3-week follow-up. And this one is about just this one is about educating, right? Like we're 3 weeks in, it's been 3 weeks since we've been there. It's been 3 weeks since we completed our service. What may happen, or what do you need to keep an eye on, right? So what do you need to keep an eye on? And if you see something, give us a call. So now we're to the 3-month follow-up. And this is very similar to the 3-week one. But the service you provided, you got to kind of think, whatever industry you're in, what can happen, or why is something happening 3 months after we were there? So you're again setting expectations, and you're not preventing future issues from happening, but you're preventing future frustrations or your customer from being frustrated by something happening that's happening 3 months after you completed a service, completed an installation of something, whatever it might be. There's always something. So think in your head about the phone calls that you get that are always like, hey, this happened, or this is happening. Why is this happening now? I didn't know this was going to happen. Write them down, run those through your head. And those are questions, and those are things you're going to want to answer at this 3-month mark. Something that's going to happen almost, or pretty much, in a quarter of a year after you have something done, after you complete something, right? So here's what you may notice. Here's what's normal. And maybe here's when to give us a ring if you see this happening. So I think the best way, again, kind of like I did on Wednesday, is kind of describe a couple of communications that you can do based on industry and what that looks like. And then you can maybe implement it in your company, or it might trigger something in your brain to say, hey, yeah, this is a good thing to communicate at the 3-month mark. So of course, I'm going to start with the pond industry because that is what I know, and that's what I know best. In the pond industry, with a pond cleaning, that first communication was always a, hey, how's it doing? How you doing? Blah, blah, whatever. And we would always, I would actually also in that email just remind them, because in the pond industry, you have skimmers and stuff. So make sure you check your skimmers, blah, blah, whatever. And I also put a little blurb in my 3-week as well about the skimmers. Make sure you check your skimmers, clean your skimmer pad. And this may be happening as well. So in the 3-month with a pond, from a cleaning scenario, what I did was I talked about string algae, because because at the 3-month mark in a pond, the time of year we were cleaning, that is when string algae would start forming. And that's when we started getting a lot of phone calls from people. People would call and they say, oh, there's so much green stuff. This green stuff is going everywhere, blah, blah, whatever. So instead of us getting all these phone calls, having to answer the question 1,000 times, it felt like, we communicated that with the client and said, listen, it's been about 3 months since we cleaned your pond. You might start seeing some little stringy stuff growing from your rocks, maybe in your stream. This is normal. And what we would do is we put a link in there to a blog that we wrote about string algae and how to combat it and what to do. So not only are you telling them what can happen and that it's normal, but you're also giving them a solution. So in the pond industry, that is what I did at the 3-month mark. And what these communications did for me, it reduced phone calls, it reduced frustrating phone calls. And a lot of times people would kind of take care of them themselves, or if they weren't that type of hand-on person, they would call us and say, hey, you know, when you talked about, and I know I said this on Wednesday, but it's the same thing. You're not getting frustrating phone calls because they know what's happening. Hey, you know, that string algae thing is happening. I'm having trouble combating it. What can we do to help doing it? And then we would help them with that. So the pond industry, that is what I did. And that is what my spring cleaning 333 looked like. And then I did them also for nettings. I did them for winterizations, and they look different. The touches, there weren't as many touches, but I still did the same thing during those main services so that they knew what to expect next and knew what was going to happen next. So a couple of other industries, the pool industry, if you happen to be on here and you're in the pool industry, or if you listen to this afterwards, I was recording in your pool industry, 3-month touch might be kind of the same as the pond industry. Maybe there's some algae forming, maybe you have cloudiness, maybe it's been a lot of rain, and the pond is cloudy, and when it rains, it gets cloudy. It's kind of like a pond. The rain makes it cloudy, and then it clears up. If it doesn't clear up in a couple of days, give us a call, because then that means something is going wrong. Water temps change your chemical imbalance in the pool. And also maybe even with the pool industry, a 3-month might be, hey, have you had that? Maybe, you know, typically if we don't have a lot of rain during this time of year, you might have to fill your pool up. That's normal. But if you're having to do it every day, make sure you give us a call because something else is happening. So those are a couple things you could do for the pool industry. Very similar: water quality, water level, and emptying your skimmers too. So as an electrician, this is probably a harder one, and I had a hard time coming up with some ideas for this one because most of the time you have an electrician out to your house, they put it in, and you just keep using that outlet. But I would say what you may notice is probably nothing. Your power should be working. You should be turning your lights on and off and using that outlet. What's normal? Electric should work. It should be quiet, and you should just be able to use it. However, if you start noticing that your breakers are tripping repeatedly, or lights are dimming, or even if maybe an outlet feels warm or a switch feels warm, that's a good time to give us a call or do something. And on Wednesday, I talked about even just showing people or doing a video and showing people how to, from an electrician standpoint, how to, if a breaker trips, how to reset that breaker or how to reset a GFI. If you're done with the roofers, what you might notice, you might get debris in your gutters from the roofing, the new roofing, the minor granules, and they just wash away after a year, and that's a normal process, I would imagine. Again, I had to do some research because I'm not a roofer, but maybe materials settle after temperature or rain exposures. The shingles might change color a little bit. So that's just normal, and it might not seem normal to the normal person like myself or somebody else that you put that roof in for, but it is a normal thing that happens after a new roof. However, you should probably call us when there's interior watermarks or staining somewhere, or if something just doesn't look right, just give us a call. Siding contractor would be the same thing: subtle movements, expansions, slight color variations, maybe in the siding, and then normal is materials responding to temperature and stuff. Because I know outside, like in my house, if in the backyard, the sun beats on the back of the house, And you can hear the siding a little bit shifting or moving or expanding and contracting because it gets so hot back there. But if you see panels shifting or any gaps forming in your siding, that's when you need to call us as a siding contractor after we're done. And lastly, a landscaper. So when you put new plants in the ground, what you might notice that's normal is maybe some settling in some of the soil around it. Maybe the plants change some color. Maybe that's with the seasons, or maybe with watering habits, or maybe the plant is stressed a little bit. And that's normal for a plant to be stressed a little bit. They're getting established, and new plants need to adjust to the new environment that they were just put into. So, but when should you call? If you see struggling plants, like if the plants look like they're browning or starting to die, or maybe you did a paver patio. If you start seeing pooling water, you should definitely give us a call. Or if something seems like it's settling, you should give us a call, because that's not right. So in all of these 3 month touches, again, they're all very similar to that 3-week one. It's not selling. It's all 100% guidance. It's guiding the customer through things that they could see that may not be problems, but they don't know that they're not problems. And you're telling them that, you're communicating that to them. And you're also telling them, hey, this is when you should probably call us. So with this too, and working a 333, so I've talked a lot about service, but working a 333 into a construction project, which would even fall in line with maybe a siding contract. You can do new siding or roofing. So, or a landscaper, and you put in a whole new project, and even the pond industry, when you put in new construction, if you have any kind of warranty that you provide, maybe you provide a one year workmanship warranty or what have you. Just another layer of this, an awesome layer to add to this, is a follow-up 1 year later, and maybe you do it 11 months after the completion is done. And you follow them and say, hey, listen, we know it's been a year since we installed your pond, installed your landscaping, put your roof on, put your siding on, whatever it might be. Your 1 year workmanship warranty, and this is maybe not the 100% correct wording, but you get the gist. Your 1 year warranty is coming due. We used to actually offer a visit. Like, we'd love to come out, check things over, make sure everything's going okay before your warranty is over, so we can take care of anything before that happens. So we would do that, and then we would go out. So again, you're proactively communicating with the client and providing them a service that most companies don't provide. And that sets you the bar so high for your company and your customer experience, because people appreciate people that care. And that is 100% what you're doing by implementing these communications and by implementing customer experience in your company. And this is a great way to start. So how do you implement this? This is not easy to implement. Let me back up. It's easy to implement, but you have to be consistent, and you can't rely 100% on your memory to do it, because there's no way you're going to remember, especially if you're a pond guy or if you're a heavy service company, you're going to remember to do all of this for hundreds of people. And that's where bringing systems into your company, bringing the right tools into your company to help you remember to do these things, or getting someone to help you remember to do these things. But the best way to do it, and I talk about this, is to come up with a system and then figure out how to automate that system. And then it happens time and time and time and time again. And you don't have to remember to do it. It just happens for you. And everybody is getting the same experience when they do business with your company. So again, intentional consistency is the win. And I talk about intentional consistency always. And all of these things I talk about, you have to be consistent with it. And we all have the best intentions, but we know what that does. Absolutely nothing for you. So just do it. Figure out how you can get this done and how you can get this implemented, and see what happens. You're going to see a huge difference in your client retention. The clients are going to love it, and it is going to reduce dramatically the amount of phone calls you get from after you've done a service, because you're communicating to the clients what could and what may happen before it does happen. So that wraps up the 333. You can go back and listen and get some more ideas. But that is it for this week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. So have a great weekend. Next week, real quick, I am going to talk about what I actually do and how I help companies. My goal is not to, I do not want to, and I will not sell on here. So that is not my goal, but I'm being asked over and over and over and time again, what do you actually do, Clay? How do you actually help people? And I think it's super important to explain what I do and how I help companies, just so you have an idea of where I'm coming from and also why I talk about all of this stuff. Thanks for joining. Oh, if you found value, please share this. I'd love it if you shared the live for me. I'd really appreciate that. Bye, everyone. Before you go, if you want to learn more about what we're all about, head on over to kairocx.com. You can reach out to us there or just dig in and learn more about how we can help businesses and help businesses like yours at Kairo CX. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Follow Through.